morning, everyone. I am extremely happy to see more people in the room now, to see our states, who are the heart of UNIDROIT, here in the room, and so many friends that have been working with us for so long. I apologize, I will not be long, but I will take a few minutes. You will indulge me because this is an occasion which only happens every 100 years. And I cannot promise I will not speak again to you for another 10 minutes before 100 years, but I will not do more than that this time around. So today, UNIDROIT reaches 100 years of existence. This is news for you. A century is a long time for any institution. A formidable span for an international institution, and almost a miracle for an institution devoted not to power, but to the rule of law. We meet not only to remember, but to honor an idea. And the idea is that peace is not built only when armies fall silent, but also in the patient architecture of cooperation, in contracts, when contracts are trusted, when credit is made available, when property rights are protected, or when exchanges take place cross borders and foster wealth. Since Spinoza, we know that peace is not the absence of war. It is a disposition towards confidence and justice. And UNIDROIT was born from that deeper understanding of peace. As the first global attempt to create an organization aimed at peace and security, the League of Nations showed not only political courage, but also intellectual audacity. It understood that peace required not only diplomacy between states, but fairness and sustainability. Yes, sustainability already then. So it set out to create labor standards, to create economic and financial stability, to create intellectual cooperation, and to foster a legal order. Around the League, a constellation of bodies emerged: the ILO, the International Permanent Court of Justice, and we're proud to say that UNIDROIT was one star in that constellation. On the 20th of April, 1920, the President of the Council of the League of Nations accepted the offer of the government of Italy to establish in Rome an institute devoted to harmonizing and coordinating the rules of private law of the different states and groups of states. Behind that formula stood tall one man, above all, Vittorio Scialoia. I will not say more about him because enough has been said, and tomorrow we will have a whole event where his memory and his work will be remembered. But let me just say that he was a man, an academic and a statesman who understood that private law could serve a public destiny, a public service. Italy gave UNIDROIT a home. This Villa Aldobrandini, standing tall between the Capitol and the Quirinale Hills, a magnificent Roman house fitting for a universal mandate. At the onset, it was the home of world-class jurists asked to sail new intellectual frontiers and think out of the box. One could say that UNIDROIT was arguably the world's first legal think tank. Studies on arbitration, intellectual property, international sales of negotiable instruments were entrusted to some of the greatest legal minds then, and some, we could say, of all time. UNIDROIT studied, compared, listened, and tested concepts against legal traditions and commercial reality. Before it became a factory of uniform law, it was a school of method. Gradually, the institute evolved. It moved from being a think tank to becoming an institution that conducted institutional and intellectual work for others. It became the engine room of private law harmonization in the world. Other organizations might convene the political negotiations. Other conferences might adopt the final texts. But again and again, the technical work, the comparative labor, the careful drafting, the legal imagination had taken place at UNIDROIT. This was authority without vanity. As the world was moving towards catastrophe, Italy withdrew from the League of Nations. Yet UNIDROIT, as was mentioned before, did not disappear, and even through a world war, UNIDROIT remained active. This continuity is singular, a source of our legitimacy, and an extraordinary display of resilience, in our opinion. As time passed after the war, the Institute slowly but firmly became a full international organization acting in its own name, producing its own instruments, and defining a distinctive place in the international legal order. The post-war decades brought conventions, model laws, principles, legal guides, hard law and soft law on cutting-edge legal matters. From a small Euro-American membership, UNIDROIT grew into a global organization. Today, as was recalled by the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain, we count on 65 member states that represent more than 70% of the world population, and most of its economy, 90% of it. This growth matters because UNIDROIT's mandate matters. Private law may sound modest when compared to public law, or to constitutional law, or to the law of war. But private law is the grammar of daily cooperation. It tells strangers how to trust one another. It allows goods to move, credit to flow, investment to be made, risks to be allocated, and new legal concepts to be created. Montesquieu, in his Spirit of the Laws, wrote that peace is the natural effect of trade. Perhaps he was a bit optimistic, but trade governed by adequate law can no doubt become a powerful instrument of prosperity. This is the economic dignity of private law. By harmonizing private legal systems, UNIDROIT increases legal certainty, it lowers transaction costs, it makes cross-border investment less dependent on guesswork. It allows parties to measure risk, and when risk can be measured, it can be priced. Where risk cannot be priced, capital hesitates. Where legal uncertainty is extreme, commerce becomes expensive, credit becomes scarce, and opportunity is all but absent. To harmonize private law is therefore not an abstract scholarly exercise. It is development policy, it is market architecture, and it is an instrument of peace. Our methodology is one of the reasons why this has worked so well. UNIDROIT draws upon scholars, judges, practitioners, governments, international organizations, industry participants, and civil society. In our working groups and consultations, the future users of rules sit in effect beside the very drafters of the rules. The result is a legal sandbox, a protected space in which areas may be tested before release, and where the best solution is found ab origine. There is also a moral dimension. Strong private law institutions strengthen civil society. They create networks of confidence that do not depend entirely on the wisdom of a single government or the stability of a single political moment. No legal instrument can immunize a society from bad government, political instability, or war. But sound private law structures can help societies breathe when politics is strained. They allow commerce to continue, credit to survive, and human cooperation to endure. This matters most in dark times. When the dust settles after conflict, reconstruction needs roads and hospitals and schools, but it also needs contracts and secure credit and prosperity or insolvency rules. And even before the dust settles, societies need the ability to continue, imperfectly, painfully, but lawfully. Tocqueville wrote that the science of association is the mother of science. UNIDROIT's work is part of that science, the science of making cooperation possible among persons, enterprises, and communities that may not share a language, a legal tradition, or a political history, but can share a set of rules. This bottom-up influence is the essence of UNIDROIT's success. We work underneath the visible drama of international relations, where trust is built transaction by transaction, reform by reform, instrument by instrument. Our work is technical, but technical law, when well made, is a form of civilization. So today we have much to celebrate. We celebrate the League of Nations' broad intuition that peace requires institutions beyond diplomacy. We celebrate Italy's foundational support and Rome's hospitality. We celebrate those who, for a century, have given this institute their intelligence and loyalty, many in this room today. We celebrate our 65 member states, whose trust has carried UNIDROIT from a small satellite of the interwar order to a global organization at the center of private law harmonization. But celebration should not be nostalgia. We have designed a centenary as an opportunity to test our instruments, to define our future projects, to modernize our institutional documents. We have scheduled 3 international conferences, 7 international workshops, 1 per work stream, at least 4 regional events in each of our world regions, and 1 final event in Rome next December, with a joint session of our governance and our partners from all over the world. Excellencies, friends, institutions live long if, and only if, each generation gives them a reason to continue. As long as human trade, lend, invest, cultivate, preserve, fail, recover, and begin again, they will need rules that allow them to trust beyond borders. Rabindranath Tagore dreamt of a world not broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, a world led into ever-widening thought and action. That, too, is a legal ambition, to make diversity compatible with cooperation and borders compatible with trust. It is our ambition. The world's hero, Nelson Mandela, famously stated that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. Today, we may allow ourselves a moment to look back, and the many hills already climbed over 100 years are behind us. But we cannot linger. The next century will bring new hills, and we're already seeing them. Let us therefore celebrate with gratitude, but also with responsibility. The first century belongs to those who founded, protected, and enlarged this institute, again, men in this room, taking it to its peak, where it stands today. The second century belongs to those who will have the courage to take it further to the next level. Thank you very much.